first. I don't like, I didn't like the way that we were just jumping right into the templates. So let's go back out here. If you are in one of your rooms, any one of your rooms, and we'll create a new room for the purpose of this class. I'm just going to create a room. I'm going to show you where you would actually apply this. Class 426, 2021. So we're going to do buyers today. And I'm just going to show you how it looks when you first have your buyer agency agreement. When you're looking at the document, if you haven't entered anything in the details tab, it's blank, right? Nothing comes in. If you have entered something in your details tab, and if you have brought it in from command, there are things in command that will auto-populate into your details tab, and then they will auto-populate into your document, right? But it's very minimal. Not everything populates that you would like it to. We are doing the template so that you have more information that is automatically in these documents from the beginning. Because there are certain things like the full broker address, the brokerage name, your name, my name, the things that you want to have filled out properly throughout your documents that are never going to change. You can do this not just for the agency agreements, but you could also do this in contract documents where you know that every single time you have delivery in an offer, it's always going to come to you and your admin's email address. That can be part of your template. If you know that every single time you have a contingency for a home inspection, you're always right now offering 3 days, right, in the right to void section, then you can have that in your template. There's lots of things that you can have in your template that don't autofill from the details tab. And so that's what the point of the templates are. And what you do is you right click on the document in your room, and you're able to apply templates to the documents to make sure that it fills in properly, okay? So we don't have any templates right now, so that's why it doesn't give us the choice. All right, so I just wanted to show you where we get the information from, okay? So now we're gonna go back to our documents, and we're going to create the templates. Okay, I need to be able to see what's behind here. We go to the right tab. Okay, and we're going to create some form templates. So we have to do this per document, okay? It's creating an overlay to go on top of the document that we want to be filled in already. What happens is it will overwrite anything that you've already filled in to the document that's already there, and this only works on DocuSign form. So you're not gonna be able to apply a template onto a PDF document. It's only gonna recognize what you filled in to a DocuSign form, because these are DocuSign forms that we're going to fill in. So let's go ahead and we're going to select that buyer agency agreement. And I don't know why these don't come up in alphabetical order like they did in the other side. So bear with me for a second. Okay, I'm going to choose Virginia buyers. And the document that we're going to work with right now is the exclusive right to represent buyer. So all we're doing here is we're telling the template what we want filled in that's going to go on every single buyer agency agreement that we apply this template to. So the brokerage name. So I'm going to type here KW United Falls Church, because this is in a Falls Church room. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to type the address, 105 West Broad Street, Suite 200. All right, 22046, and the office phone number. And then I'm going to put in the office email address that's registered with D4. All right. And then certain things in a buyer agency agreement, you might always have as the same thing. So I don't charge an early termination fee, so I'm going to put 0. In the purpose, for those of you that have been through boot camp with me, you know that the purpose is to find a residential property in Virginia. Okay. The retainer fee, I don't charge a retainer fee, so that could go in there. Shall not be subtracted. Payment, the minimum I'm willing to work for, 2%. Okay, I put 30 days here for after expiration date. So those are all things that are the same in every single agreement that I do for a buyer. In every single agreement for a buyer, I explain the benefit of consenting to designated and that we don't do dual. So I'm going to check no to dual. I don't know whether they hold an active or inactive license, so I can't fill that out ahead of time. Other provisions, I don't fill anything in for other provisions for every single time. So here, this is where you could put your information. And then you would put my information in the bottom. And that would be able to, oops, carry over onto every single one of your agreements.
This is very cool.
All right, so this is everything that's going to be the same on every single one of my agreements, and I'm going to click Save and Close, right? So this document, this is just like how you would have filled it in the regular Documents tab, okay? So now I have saved this, and this template name is my buyer agency agreement template, right? Exclusive right to represent buyer agency. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how do you make that happen. So let's go back to our rooms. This is the room we were just working in, okay? I'm going to edit this and I'm going to put a buyer name. Bet you guys can guess what my buyer's name is going to be. Grace Lillian is our buyer, and I'm going to put address for her just to show you what it looks like. Now I want to show you something here. Let's use David. Let's say David's the buyer's agent. Let's say I put in the details tab, David was the buyer's agent. Okay, I've saved this document. Let's look at our exclusive right to represent document for a minute. So Grace Lillian is my buyer, okay? I have her up here. And here's her address. And on the last page, it put David Donaldson as our buyer agent, okay? Now I want to show you something. When we come back out here, now you see how it has apply template as an option. The first time when I showed you guys where you go to apply the template, it didn't give us a template option because we hadn't created templates yet. So now when I click apply form template, it's going to tell me which template would you like to use on this document. Well, We only created one, so this is pretty easy. We're going to say apply template. Now, when we go back in to look at this document, it's going to have all of the information that we just typed in.
That's
Now
great.
I want to show you something. When we go to the last page, see how I had David in as the listing agent on the first one? It overrides anything that you have typed into the document or that pulled from the details tab.
So we should do this at the very beginning, right? Before we put in any other information, right?
Yes, you should. And this, so I had a typo in my template on my phone number, which I noticed. So always be careful on your template. So you should, when you are pulling in, you're starting in command, right? To create your room. And then you go to your details tab and you're filling information in your details tab. And then you're bringing in your documents. So anything that was in your details tab is going to automatically populate into your documents that maps to your documents. So once you've brought in your documents, if there's something that doesn't match up, right? So in that case, I had put in David Donaldson was the buyer's agent. But I'm applying a template that says Shannon Lauderstein is the buyer's agent. So it's going to override what was in the details tab and use everything that's on the template.
Shannon,
Yes.
I missed where you, I brought in the document and everything. You're like wicked fast. But where was the pull down to get the template?
Right click on the document.
Oh, right click. Okay, got it.
And click apply form template. All right. Who thought that was really cool? Okay, who thinks that's going to help them in their business? Okay, who thinks that they could go back in and create more templates just based on that? Okay, and based on this, if you needed to, you could go back and watch the video that we'll post up on YouTube, and you think you would be able to go and duplicate this again. That wasn't that hard, right?
No, I think even I could do this.
Andy, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that was super awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I have a question.
Yes, Veronica.
Yes. So I don't know, it's just me or it's I don't know with also who to contact. Every time that I put the opportunity command and I try to create opportunity and I try to populate directly from command to DocuSign, every time I know it normally doesn't populate everything, but to me it doesn't populate nothing, zero.
So
every time.
When you're trying to bring in the documents into command from DocuSign?
From command to DocuSign, right? When I go to opportunity, create an opportunity directly from the tab, and I go to DocuSign, it should at least populate, my info, or at least the info of the client, because I did all the process and the steps from command, but it didn't populate nothing, zero. I always need to every time put everything.
Yeah, I'll have to do one with you to see where it's missing in command on why it isn't going into DocuSign.
Yes, please. I really appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely, because it doesn't bring everything in, but it should bring some information.
Yeah, exactly, because before at least it was showing my info, but now even that, nothing.
Yep, absolutely. So we can do one together.
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So that was like my main thing for you guys today was the template. So I'm very glad that we were able to do that and the DocuSign came back up working just in time today. So the other thing that Rachel mentioned was, tips for like rental applications and, how do you, if you're even writing offers, right? Or things. How do you keep the same document static and then just change specific things on it if you need to redo it a second time? So the rental application might be the most common one at this point that you would want to do that on, because your clients are having to fill out the information on it. It's not like an offer where we're filling out the information. The client actually fills out the information, and we don't want the client to have to go through that over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up in our classroom. I am going to pull up the application, and we will walk through that, and I'll show you a couple of tricks. So what happens in the application is you have a couple of the fields that are fillable by us as the agents. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, at least we got through the template part. We're gonna give it a minute, and we'll keep trying.
That's why you were going so fast.
I'm gonna talk through this with you guys for a minute, and then we will come back to it. I'm just texting David real quick and letting him know that that the error that we were getting earlier happened again. Okay, so in the rental application, there are a couple of fields that we can fill out that are like property specific or brokerage specific, if you will. It's like page 1, basically, right? And as soon as you get to page 2 and page 3 and page 4, that's where all of the information from the client comes from. That's, where do they live? Where do they work? How much money do they make? And then the disclosures about how would they rate their credit and have they filed bankruptcy, like all of those things, right? Those are not fields that we can fill in for them. Those are not actually active fields in the DocuSign room for us. When you get to the envelope and you're in the envelope, you can see how those have text box already for them to fill out. So what my suggestion is on something like that is, from an agent side, don't fill in anything on page 1 of the rental application that's property specific before you send it to your client. So send it to your client, have them fill in the application, and then you're going to get it back as a PDF essentially. And then once it is, so they don't need to, they don't need to sign it. You can change that field, right, to delete the field for signature when you get into the envelope. So you don't need to have them sign it, right? They can just be filling it out. And then when they pick a property, you take that PDF where they've just filled out all the information, you plug in a text box in the envelope, you put in the property specific information, you add a signature block, and you send it to them, okay? So that would be my suggestion on that. Here's my other suggestion related to that, because rentals can get tricky when you want to qualify them during your tenant consultation, if you will. Have them fill out the application when you get the tenant agency agreement signed, right? Because, and if you do this for every tenant, then you're treating every tenant the same. And this way you can tell them, some of your tenants, you tell them, some of the landlords are going to have the application done online, and that's okay, right? But at least you've already gathered all the information ahead of time, and now you know what information they need. And so you have it all right there in front of you. You can upload your pay stubs, you can upload your ID, you can just read right off of your application what you have to plug into their, portal, right? But at least you've seen their application. You know how they rate their own credit. You know whether their income is enough. If they make $1,500 a month and they want to apply for a house that rents for $3,500 a month, you might need to have further conversation, right? you don't want to wait until after you've shown the homes. And then they're like, oh, wait, we might need a co-signer or we might need somebody else because we don't qualify, right? So that's a little more than just DocuSign.
So what I'm hearing is you have them fill out just the Virginia real estate application or rental application,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
some rentals ask you to do a different application, but this is something that you can use to pre-qualify them, right?
Yes, I was just clicking to see if it was going to let me open it, and it
Okay.
did not. Yeah, so it's the NVAR standard application, and it's all of the information that they're asking for in the NVAR application is what they're going to be asked for in other places. It's just in a different format.
Yeah, and then do you have your tenants refill out the applications as you keep going if you don't get the first couple?
No, well, so
Or
that
do you
was,
do it for them?
oh no, I don't, I would never do it for them. And that, so that was my suggestion, is that you can send it to them without being property specific. So that way, as soon as, you know, they find one that they like, then you plug in the property specific information and then have them sign it. So they've filled out all of their personal information, but there's no signature, so there's no date, right? And then
Yeah.
they sign it. And then if they don't get that one, then you have one that's blank as far as property information that you just use for the next one. You then plug in property number 2
Yeah.
and have them sign it with a new date.
I've had a situation where a tenant did not want to sign that tenant agreement with me because he might find, you know, they might find their property without me, which is fine
Yeah, then I wouldn't work with them.
at all.
Well, so yeah, I mean, it's the law that if you're going to be representing them, they have to sign it. So
Yeah, and he ended up, you know, signing it when you know, I sent him a listing and there was an open house for the rental and he went and saw it. I never showed him properties, but because I sent him the listing, in his mind, I helped him. And so next time I'll just have to put boundaries up, like, hey, we need to get this signed so I can actually show you properties. It's the law. Okay.
Yeah.
Just be more clear.
yeah, because you wouldn't want to be out showing him stuff and then have him go looking for other stuff and then never get paid.
Shannon, what I'm hearing about the static information, we could probably just take just about anything that's static, save as a PDF, and then change any of the specific property or any of the details for pretty much anything we do, right?
You could. I wouldn't do it with an offer
Okay.
because there's not information that clients are filling out in offers, right? On a rental application, the client has to fill in their own personal information. There's no personal information that a client's filling out on an offer. When you're using the DocuSign form, the information stays.
The template. The template.
Well, not even in the template.
Okay.
It's in a DocuSign form, the premise of the form is that you can go back and edit the form. You always will have the tamper-proof signed copy that can never be edited. And then you have the form that has the blue icon on it that you can always go in and edit. So if you make an offer on property number 1 and you send it to your client to sign, you have then the version that's green, has the green icon that they've signed, right? They don't get that property. So now they want to write on property number 2. You go back into the form, the blue icon, and you change the seller's name, you change the address, you change the, you know, property specific information, but everything else might be the same, right? It might be the same price that they're offering. It might be the same closing date. It might, you know, anything that's the same, you just leave. And then you put it in an envelope and send it to them to sign. So all they're doing on those documents is initialing and signing. We are filling those out. So there aren't.
Yeah, I understand.
Documents. Yeah.
I have one more question about email address for broker. So we have Kingston Realty Group as the upper one. Is that still being, and then yours is the lower one. Is that still being used on the forms, or is it still the 2 emails?
It is, because on page 1 is the brokerage
Yeah.
registered email address. And then on the last page is supervising broker contact information, which is for me specifically.
So I found a weird thing that sometimes when it's auto-filling in the envelope, it picks up either one or the other and fills both upper and lower part of the document. And unless I'm imagining, I have to go back and edit one of them.
Yeah,
Have
the
you
same, the
found
same,
that?
yeah, it's the same for me. It's the same exactly, Rachel. It's every time you try to change and after you confirm, it shows the same, it's always doing the slauterstein@kw.com.
Or the other
Or
one,
the other one, yes.
right, for
Which,
both.
okay, do you know which document it's doing it on?
I think it did it for the buyer agreements. That's the most recent one that I did.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
also the lease
Rental
agreement.
also.
Also
It-
the lease.
Okay, I'll go back and look at them because it had done that in the beginning and then we had it fixed. They were mapping the same and then we had it fixed. And so if it's doing it again, then I'll need to go back and have them updated again.
Great, thank you.
Shannon, while we're talking about updates, back to the template real quick.
Yes.
So I had tried to create these templates a while ago and I was getting an error. It just wouldn't do it. And I thought it was something weird. So I just tried to go back and do it after you gave us the little tutorial and I'm getting the same error. It won't, I can't create any templates.
Well, you can't do anything at the moment because DocuSign is giving everyone an error message that
Okay.
DocuSign forms are currently unavailable.
No, that's not there. No, I did it before. That's not the error message I get. It says, I took a screenshot of it. It says, it's telling me there's a problem processing my request, which might be what it's saying now. But who do I get in touch with? Is there someone to call?
Me, we'll do it after class. I'll let you share your screen with me.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Please, can I share also mine later? I really appreciate.
Sure. You having a DocuSign?
Yes, the one that I showed you before about the command.
Oh, a command thing. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so right now, I don't know that DocuSign is going to let us do anything else that's fun because of the error message that it is giving us. But I may be able to show you guys a couple of things without opening the document. So from this screen right here where we had the apply form template, when you right click on the document itself, it actually gives you a lot of choices of things that you can do with the document, not just applying the template.
Okay.
So when you have a PDF that you want to take a document out of, for example, when you are submitting compliance documents and in our checklist in command for a contract, I don't want to have the lender letter and, or the proof of funds in with the tax record and the MLS and the ratified contract all together in one PDF, right? We have separate checklist items. So we want to have the document split up. You can upload your ratified contract in here into DocuSign and right click on the document and click split. And it's going to give you an option where you can split apart that document into the pages that you need it to be. So if the first page of the document is the lender letter, you can say page 1 to page 1 is your first document and that it's the lender letter. And then if pages 2, 3, and 4 are the copy of the MLS, then you can say pages 2 to 4 are MLS. And then pages 5 through 30 are ratified contract, right? You can call it ratified contract. And then it's going to give you those new documents right there in your room so that when you go to add your documents from command, they're already split up for you. You don't have to like print them and then re-upload them as separate documents or have a PDF editor somewhere else that you can upload them. You can do it right here in Command.
That is awesome. Actually, but we're not actually doing it in Command, we're doing it in DocuSign, right?
You're doing it in DocuSign. We may later be able to do it in Command. Right now, it's in DocuSign.
Fantastic.
You can also rename your documents. So right now, when your client signs a document, it's whatever the root name is right here. So exclusive right to represent buyer agreement dash K1338. Once they sign it, it's this root name dash signed dot PDF. That's what the new name is of the signed document. So you can change it when you right click, you can rename the document and just call it signed buyer agreement or broker signed buyer agreement or ratified buyer agreement, whatever you want to call it, right? So you can just click here and rename the document. You also can move documents. And the move document option is really cool because there are times where you might not be able to get into Command because maybe they're doing an update and you had to open a DocuSign room outside of Command, and we don't recommend it. But it was an emergency and you had to do it. And so now your DocuSign room is not connected to Command, right? Because remember, Command has to open your room in order for them to be connected. So later, when you were able to go into Command, you opened a room. And so now you have two rooms for your one client. You can use this move function that's right here. And when you select a destination, you can actually send it to a different room. You can send it somewhere else. You don't have to just move it within folders in your room. You can send it somewhere else completely. So I can, I don't think it's gonna give an error message because this is a form. But you can say that you want it to go to an active room, and then it's gonna give you all of the rooms that you have, and you can send it to a different room. So if you had to create all kinds of documents that were signed, but it was in the wrong room, you can just send it. And then you can also create different folders in the room. Sorry, this one right here under actions. You can add folders. So if you have multiple offers that you have to do for a client or multiple applications that you're doing, you can create a bunch of different folders right here in the room. So you can have offer number 1, and then you can have offer number 2.
Shannon, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So one thing that drives me crazy in my room is when I have all these documents, because you have all the forms, then you have the signed documents and and then you get the certification documents. So I create the folders and put them all in different folders. But my question is, do we have to keep those certification documents? Are those, can
You
we
do, because that's the confirmation of when they were signed.
Okay. All right. I didn't delete them. At one point, I'm like, God, do I need this? I'll just delete it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to delete it.
Okay, so I'm gonna be very clear about something real quick. Nothing ever should be deleted except a form, because you're having an issue with a form and you need to bring that form back in again. Anything that you don't want to see on your screen gets archived.
Okay. Well, yeah, archive.
The delete function is for forms, things with blue icons, and everything else gets archived, because we can only have one version in each room of a form. And so that's what the delete button is for. And the archive button is for anything that's signed already. So that's what the difference is there.
So if you archive a form, could you bring it in again or?
No.
No.
Because it's still in your room. If it's archived, you still have access to it. That's the only reason that the delete button's there, is so that you can get rid of the form completely and bring it back in. So for example, on January 1st every year, we get new forms, right? And if you've been working with a buyer who's been making offers on December 27th and they didn't win, right? And so you've been using the 2021 version of the residential sales contract, and then January 1st hits and there's a new version of the sales contract. The only way to get the new version of the sales contract with the updated information is to delete it and bring in the new version.
Makes sense.
So that's the only reason it's there.
Going back to folders for a minute, if we have a buyer who's making multiple offers, do you think it's better to do folders within one room or create a different room for each offer?
It should always be in one room.
Okay.
There should be one opportunity and one room per settlement statement.
Okay.
Is how I describe it. So if you have one client who's going to ultimately end up at the table buying one home, then there should always just be one opportunity and one DocuSign room. If you have an investor who's going to buy multiple properties, then you would create multiple opportunities and they would have multiple rooms.
Okay.
So like if they fall out, you know, if they're ratified and it falls out, you don't create a new opportunity. You just add a version of the documents. You don't replace the documents. You just add a version on the checklist, and then it puts in a new checklist layer on top. So you have both sets of documents. So back here, you can use this move now. So you can move them within the folder in the current room. You can actually move forms within the current room. You can't move forms to different rooms. You can only move forms within a current room. The room docs folder, the one that they call room docs, right here, this is what is the main folder that Command tries to pull from. So when you go in your checklist in Command and you say add from DocuSign, it goes to this folder first. So if that makes a difference in how you're organizing your rooms, it will still access all of your folders. But it goes to this folder first.
Didn't you say before that we could use move to move a document to a different room?
Yes, not a form though, only signed documents.
Oh, okay, okay. I wasn't clear what the difference was between those two terms.
Yeah, signed documents.
That makes sense.
So you can also email from here, you can download, you can create an envelope. I don't like creating envelopes from right here. Remember, I like creating the envelopes when you check these and use it from up here. But you also have some of the same toolbars up top that you have from down here. But this is also a place where you can download it to your computer. Something that frustrates agents, but it's just about knowing how the system works. You cannot download a completely blank document that has nothing filled into it. DocuSign does not allow, it's a fail-safe, they do not allow a completely blank document to be downloaded. So if you bring in a document and you're trying to download it, it won't let you. You have to fill something in, like your brokerage name or your name as the agent. Something has to be filled in. And then as soon as you do that, you can download it. And the reason for that is only agents are supposed to be using these documents. So why not fill in your own name, right? Why not apply your template before you download it? So awesome. All right. Questions? Anything else that you think DocuSign should do that it doesn't? Do you guys all know how to drag and drop to reorder your forms in the envelope? You guys remember that from the basic class? Okay, awesome. I had a couple of people asking me about that this week, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew it.
Yes, there is another question.
Okay.
So when you go to the listing, I'm talking about for lease agreement, right? And you go to DocuSign and you go to the end where you create an envelope and you want the landlord to sign, and after you are going to be the last one, right? So when you go to the end where you try to put participant, on the listing agreement, it shows that you can put as landlord number 1, landlord number 2, but it doesn't let. Normally for the buy agreement or the other agreement, I always find the spot where it says just you can click and put broker. Of course, you don't put as you said, the name and last name. Sorry, the email, the name and the email you are going to populate after. But when you go on the listing agreement, it doesn't only put landlord number 1, landlord number 2, it doesn't put your name. I don't know if you understand, but it doesn't let you click, so pull your name so you can put your email address.
So it doesn't let you choose a person
Yeah.
for
As a broker.
the
Yes.
broker.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
So
I
you
did
need
not know.
So you need to drag every time after you do next, you need to drag the signature, the initial and the signature for the broker.
I will check that
Thank
because
you.
they should be adding that in there.
I don't know if it's just me, but I did 2 days ago and I realized that.
Listing agreement. Awesome. I will check that one too when I check the mapping on those other 2 things. All right.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Well, that's all I have for class today. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and